my edge experience in my 3 years here. So I'm going to show you little examples of my growth over the 3 years with a couple of examples. First, we're going to have analyzing evidence. So this was like a really big thing that was important to me whenever I was learning how to do school and write papers. And so as you can see from the year one, this was my first one. My first crap test is what we use: currency, relevance, authority, and purpose. Year three, I don't have that many more examples of year three, but it's more. So I have more examples and like more purpose in my writing. And so over time, I think the crap test has like just initialized in my brain. And so like now, whenever I'm looking at evidence, I use the crap test, like even though I don't think I am. It's super important, like I said, because the background information for stuff that we use is important. Because if you have somebody that is probably a biased person and you're using that research, then it's probably not viable. It helps you understand the sources that you're using and helps you initialize that in your brain for later information. Citations was another big thing that I had. I never used MLA format before I came to Edge, and the tools that were most helpful for me were MyBib or the extensions for MyBib. MyBib, you can just plug them all in, and it'll just do it yourself. So then you can just copy and paste it over. Very good source. Here's an example. I wish I used this more, but I only have like a couple of them in. But like I said, you just put the sites in and then it does it yourself. Super helpful. I think everyone should be using MyBib. These are my favorite projects that I've done over the years. So first of all is Life on Land, Burmese pythons, Florida, when I was a junior. This next picture is a little disturbing if you don't like to see insides of snakes. This was probably the biggest thing. A whole alligator inside of a python. Like that is like myth to me. So that was like, whenever I was a junior, this is gonna sound really bad, but that was really cool. I was like, a snake can eat an alligator. So that's my initial like thought. This is a quote that I found from somebody, and it's basically saying that the pythons are able to easily swim through salt water, and so that means they can travel from different states and stuff because they can live in salt water because they're very easy to do that. The background, they were originally from China. They migrated over from a trader and they got loose. They have endangered lots of species in Florida, and most are going extinct now. And the list over here is all of them. There's a lot. The ones that are underlined are the biggest one. Like it can eat a panther. That's crazy to me. They can eat panthers and crocodiles. Because I would rather fight a snake than a panther. So it was crazy to me. But my favorite part of the project was making my artifact or my little game. So it was made out of Jenga. The Jenga was the biodiversity or the animals in the Florida. And so what it was is you would have somebody playing the snake and somebody playing Florida. So the snake would pull out the Jenga and Florida would put back in Jenga. But over time, the pythons would take more animals and pythons, and it would show how their biodiversity is like crashing. Number two, Zero Hunger, Model UN. So we started with our population, talking about different countries, how they're affected by it, and how their graphs can tell us a lot about the country that we were doing. If you see on this one right here, That's actually a very important picture of a map of where the different agriculture is being planted over there. And so this was super important because we're talking about poverty. And so if you have a lots of agriculture land, then you can help a lot more people. And so we got to choose our countries. So I chose Kenya. Um, they are the powerhouse of East Africa, which is pretty insane because, I mean, it's so small right down there. Um, they have multiple acres of untouched land. So like all that spotted color land you just saw there, that's like where we can plant more stuff. And it's closer to poorer countries like Tanzania and Somalia. They're super poor, they have multiple wars happening. My favorite part though was whenever we debated it and how we debated it. I think it was super cool that we got to learn how to actually create a resolution that UN people would actually use. And I also really liked how they argued because they didn't actually just like start yelling at each other if they thought they were wrong. It was like nice and organized, and I thought that was really cool because I always thought of an argument would just be like yelling and stuff like that, but it's more organized. It was really cool to learn about that. Next one is big question debate. We're doing it right now, so I haven't debated yet, so I can't say if I liked it that much, but this is the thing we are doing it on. Belief in the supernatural is incompatible with belief in science, and this is really interesting to me. These are what I'm running, so if you're going against me, here's a little sneak peek. So my affirmative is based on definitions and how science and supernatural are incompatible because supernatural is transcending the natural world. Therefore, they can't be compatible because the science is the study of the natural world. My negative is based on myths and how they are old science. Now, there is two main theories that we have. We have the gods and gaps theory, where the theory of that we had to fill gods and myths for science because we didn't understand how to understand what was happening back then. So we use gods as our science. Another one is where mythology is basically old science, and so because we didn't have the technologies or the resources or the certain mindset, we had to use mythology to make it make sense. My favorite part is learning how to write the case. I think it's so nice and organized, and I love just reading off of it. I think it is probably the coolest thing I've done here, which I know sounds really nerdy, but I really like getting the sources from different places, putting them in, highlighting the parts that I want, and stuff like that. These are my next steps in life. If you didn't know, I'm going to Maplewood Woods or MCC. I'm doing the A+ program because that's 2 years free of college. That's a lot of money. I have not figured out my career yet, so this is another decision why I'm going to MCC, so I can try out different decisions. The three there are kind of what I'm looking at: programming, business, bioengineering, maybe some other stuff. It's close to home. I get to stay at my house for 2 more years, free food, free food. So I think it's a pretty good decision. Yeah. Thank you, Edge teachers, because you've been through my 3 years. It's been a journey for sure. You guys helped me like ask questions, because in my 8th grade, one of my teachers told me to figure out before I asked him a question, and that really stopped me from like wanting to ask more questions. And I wish I asked more questions sooner, but I think it was like this year, the last of first semester, I started asking more questions, and I realized that I should ask more questions because you guys are so helpful. So that was really big for me. You guys made me able to step up my writing. I think my worst part of my education would be my writing, because my brain sometimes goes too fast for when I'm writing, and so it just gets all jumbled up. Collaborating with peers and friends, you know, you've you guys have made me learn how to do that effectively and in a fun way. And Edge has also made me look at sustainability of the world, and it's so interesting and stuff like that. That's it.